Welcome to the Built Environment Magazine's podcast, The Hub. I'm Marisha Singh, the editor. And to talk to you guys today, I have with me two very interesting individuals. First, Dr. Habiba Al Marashi. She's a co founder and chairperson of Emirates Environmental Group. She's an absolute pioneer in the field of sustainability. And on the other hand, Mr. Nadesh Gandhari, he's the head of ESG at Berkeley Services Group. Now, Berkeley Services has done some amazing work in the field of sustainability in the last 3 years. They're both with us today to talk to us about all that they've been doing in E, S, and G. So let's hear from them. Thank you so much, Mrs. Habiba and Mr. Nadesh, for talking to Built Environment Magazine. And I'd like to open this chat to the both of you, that when you all started on this journey together, what did you all think about sustainability and common goals? And has it been a fruitful relationship so far? So, Ms. Habiba, if you would like to go first.
I think with Emirates Environmental Group, from the day we started, our slogan has been together for a better environment. So we always look at how do we build the relationship, and we identify the private sector as our partners in this journey to ensure that we are impacting the future generation. So our target is the future generation, but who will be our partners in this journey? So to find like-minded organizations who understand that long-termism, because in sustainability is always about long term. But in business, it's all about short term profit and blah, blah, blah. So all these completely different platforms we are talking about. So to get an organization that understands its bigger role is a journey in itself. So I'm really happy to say, alhamdulillah, the relationship that we have built with Berkeley over the years has developed and has evolved and has matured. And there's mutual trust. And there is mutual respect and understanding each other's roles and responsibilities and wanting to collaborate and to cooperate with each other.
Mr. Nadesh, how did you look at this relationship when you started working together, and also the work that has been done over the years?
Marisha, that's a fantastic question to begin with. When we started our journey and looking out to work with an NGO, we did a fantastic research. We have gone through a lot of profiles and companies. And we looked at Dr. Habiba's profile. And we were amazed to see in 1991, she founded Emirates Environmental Group. That's a big deal. There was no legislation. That was a discipline, a commitment towards society and sustainability. Who could be a better partner than Dr. Habiba and EEG? So we believe we made the right choice. That's how a responsible business should function in UAE.
That's an absolutely accurate description of the kind of work that you've done over the years, Dr. Habiba. So for me, as a person who's like super young, into the sustainability coverage area, I really want to understand from your perspective that sustainability as a word was not even in the global mainstream conversation.
Yes.
Like forget, regional. It was not there globally. So what made you think about bringing and working on it in 1991 and creating an organization around it and then sticking through it for the decades since?
What made me continue is the gaps that I saw and the ability to foresee the future. And I think, again, that is something that I thank Allah all the time, to be able to foresee what will happen. If this is not done, what will happen? Can we do these things? And we have been brought in an enabling environment, where our leadership has always told us, the sky is not even our limit, and there's no in our vocabulary. So that, with that mentality, with that attitude, and with that enabling environment, you are bound to be able to forge ahead. As Nadesh mentioned, there were no legislations, no laws. There were even no laws to govern the structure of a group like Emirates Environmental Group. So even that in itself was a journey that I went through to create that platform, to be able to absorb the structure and the development of an NGO of our type, which today became a part and parcel, a normal norm for NGOs to be established.
Absolutely. And you, through this journey, you've been on different boards across the, different bodies on the global scale as well. So when you look at the built industry specifically, where do you think we are in the journey? And what are the gaps, do you think? Is it behavioral or is it policy driven? Your thoughts on it?
At that time, of course, Dubai and the UAE and followed by the GCC, witnessed an unprecedented growth in the built environment. What we saw will never be seen again in our lifetime. The speed, the scale, the whole thing. But really, for a mother, a young mother with children, I used to wonder, what are we building? You know, you see all these skyscrapers, you see all that amount of glass, and you see you are in an arid environment, hot. What will be the energy consumption? What will be the water consumption? You know, what materials are we building? Are we using? So a lot of questions which I didn't have answers for, and I didn't have the knowledge for that. So my only means was to establish, and to convene these conferences, seminars, workshops, roundtables, and invite stakeholders. So we tackled every single thing that is connected with the built environment. And mashallah, the country has got a lot of expertise. People who are ready to come, to sit, to discuss, to share knowledge. So every session increased our knowledge on the issues and highlighted the challenges that are there and what should be done in case this challenge is faced. So by 2005, we had a beautiful conference, the first conference that we did for the built environment, and it was an international one. We invited at that time whichever Green Building Council was established in other parts of the world. Okay, from Australia, from UK, from Singapore, from India. So we had a beautiful 3-day event. At the conclusion of the 3 days, we announced the formation of the Emirates Green Building Council. And then the journey everybody knows. Really, within 2 years, the amount of work that came out of this body, the knowledge that was shared, the focusing of light on this particular critical sector was incredible. And, our leadership is always on top of it. And I can never forget the moment when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid announced that in 2007 beginning, any new building coming up in 2008 will have to adhere to green building requirements and green building regulations. Pushed. That was really the beginning of phenomenal transformation. So the legislation started coming up, regulation, rating systems, knowledge being shared, materials being available. So the journey has been really incredible. But if you ask me what has happened in the last 1.5, 2 decades now, this year we are celebrating 20 years of Emirates Green Building Council. A lot has happened, but we are still in the first quarter of the way. We still have a long way to go in many things. And I'm so happy as well on the openness of collaboration that is there, that the trust that we have built in the sector, whether we are talking about the developers, the financiers, the investors, the material providers, the facilities management, the whole round, all the stakeholders within this sector, and of course the government. The openness that we have seen to receive what comes out from the market, what is required, the right, the slowly but surely the right type of laws, regulations that comes out, which has helped change a lot of things. And I remember at that time, 90% of the building materials was coming from abroad. Today, that has completely flipped. We have a wonderful ripe market of what is available locally, and this is what we are saying. And with the introduction 2 years ago of Made in UAE as well has helped bring that concept to the fore and encouraged people to invest. And this is where we want, not only to develop, we want investors to look at this market as the right type of market to put investment because the dreams become reality.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving that historical perspective to the journey that UAE's built environment is actually undergoing. And coming to you, Mr. Nadesh, you come from a strategy and governance perspective. Facilities management is an extremely on-the-ground boots industry. So how do you translate the kind of work that needs to be done in ESG in the facilities management sector?
As a Berkeley, a company who is backed by Clue Multi Services, an international company, the objective is always straight. The objective is not just service the industry, not just service your people, give it back to the society. So what we call in Berkeley is we don't just call that as a sustainability practice. Rather, we prefer to call it as an ESG practice because we have three pillars: environment, social, governance. Each pillar is treated as equal with equal responsibility. So that gives a lot of credibility for us. And when we started our journey in 2023, we prepared a robust system, internal frameworks with the help of EEG team. We prepared ESG scorecards. So when I say ESG scorecards, these systems, that linking the operational requirements, what a client is required for us, embedding them into the business practices, it gives a lot of energy for our people. So now, when we talk about sustainability or ESG, we are not just randomly picking any legislation or randomly picking any topic. We are aligning our business objectives with people goals and the community resources that we want to responsibly consume. Because anybody can run company, but responsibly conducting a business is very important. And the message that we get from our leadership team is, we may be able to buy the resource, but if we don't responsibly use or educate our customer to consume the resources in a responsible way, we might not be called ourselves as sustainable business, right? So what we would like to call Berkeley is not just a green FM company. We want to showcase the policies, the procedures that we have. We practice in day-to-day operations, and we call ourselves a real sustainable practitioners. And one element that I would like to touch in ESG is we focus on the people as well. We focus on the technology as well, because as you rightly said, facilities management companies are always manpower intense, right? When you deploy to your contract, that is always capped with number of people. Now, we are moving from that traditional practice to different side, where it can be managed with technology, right? We don't want to people lose job. We want to focus on the technology, but have a kind of balanced approach. That is where ESG plays a very big important role. You're not focusing on one pillar, you're giving equal responsibility and discipline to every pillar so that you manage technology, you manage your people well. And just to tell you, if someone joins in Berkeley, let's say 3 years ago in a contract, just as probably as a hygiene service provider or maybe a cleaner, within 3 years, by the time of the contract ends, that person will progress in Berkeley. Either he will be progressed as team leader or a supervisor. So we're not just talking about the environmental side, we're talking about the human-centric approach. And that is what we believe in. And as a facilities management company, we always have access to do better things for our built environment. And just to give you a reference, 28% of the emissions in the UAE comes from the built environment. That's a big piece of number. And if we manage that smartly with our people, bang on, we are the right company. And we're standing tall with companies like our partners like Burj Khalifa. We are doing our service since inception. So that's the great achievement.
When you look on the outside, we really don't understand the kind of honesty it takes to partner honestly with between a corporate and a NGO. What does it actually take to ensure that an NGO's policies are being followed while achieving the corporate's goals as well? You are both on two different tracks, but you're looking at a common goal. So how did you achieve that? And I really I'm impressed by the kind of examples you've given. So could you help us more on those points?
The very beginning answer which I said, we looked at the discipline of Dr. Habiba and the real commitment. Because when someone had that pure intention without the legislation requirement, look at what they might have in their heart, right? So that is the kind of engagement we need. And when we partner with an NGO, we are not looking out to, offset some numbers, offset our carbon emissions. That's not what we want to do. We want to really associate with a policy advocacy like Dr. Habiba with her experience and knowledge. We continuously sit with her. We continuously learn from her. And we bring back that knowledge base into our organization. In fact, in 2025 January, Berkeley signed UN Global Compact. That is one of the motivation that we had from Dr. Habiba. So that brings back principles into business. So when we say UN Global Compact, it is not just a piece of policy or just a piece of paperwork, right? You're committing for long-term sustainability goals, embedding that integrity into the business, embedding that integrity into the people. So that adds a lot of value to our customers. And that brings a lot of credibility as Berkeley when we go out and participate in tenders. You're not just showcasing yourself as a sustainable practicing company. You're committed to do something real for your people and for your customers. And who could be a better partner other than Dr. Habiba?
Thank you very much.
Dr. Habiba, did you have to coach them specifically on any points, or because the intention was there, it was an easy journey?
Of course, it helps a lot when the organization has got the right foundation and they have an open heart and open ears. And mashallah, sitting with them, I've always said that doing things because you want to do it rather than it's a compliance requirements, there's a huge difference. If it is a law, then you are just going to comply with it and it's a ticking of the things. But when you want to do it because you want to do it out of your own goodwill, out of voluntary, then you will go above and beyond. And that is the philosophy that I have taken in my journey, in my interaction with the private sector. And I have seen incredible results and really organizations that make you so proud, and they stand tall, not only in the country, you can put them in any country in the world, they will stand tall as the best performers. And I'm talking about different disciplines, whether we are talking about a beautiful organization like Berkeley, or you have, for example, TriStar Group, or many, McDonald's, UAE, so many companies and our journey continues. They become like members of the family of EEG. When an event is supposed to take place or a campaign is supposed to take place, they are not only at the receiving end, they are at the decision-making level. So they are involved with you from the meetings, from the discussion, from the logistics requirement, from the manpower required to the execution on the ground. So everybody see the results, the before and the after, and that is what the commitment is all about.
Your approach is extremely kind, I must say, towards corporates, because you are giving them the grace to say that you are doing this out of ignorance and not intent. But we know that greenwashing does exist.
Yes, it does. Yes.
So how have you tackled that? And because you have companies like Berkeley, which actually make change on the ground, but there are also companies, as you rightly mentioned, are just interested in ticking the box. Now,
Yes.
It can be due to financial compulsions, it can be due to resource compulsions. So how do you manage that, or how do you convince them of that? Because I heard you, it's an extremely positive and a reinforcing message, and you're giving them the chance to change course. But there's also a portion of the business that are set in the ways that they want to do it.
I never give up. I'm a very persistent person, and I will keep on knocking the doors, change the thing until you get the entity to listen and to come on board. And I agree with you 100%. Yes, as much as we have good companies that are delivering, we do have, and we are not isolated from the rest of the world. The greenwashing and the whitewashing exists, and it exists in our country as well. And I always say, and I put responsibility on multinationals, because multinationals are entities that are functioning in different parts of the world, and they have to put their house in order. Because all the world, different requirements and different levels of development and different levels of implementation of sustainability. So if you have the right infrastructure and you have the whole legal requirements on board and well embedded in your strategy and your structure, and you are following it nicely in country ABC, why wouldn't you cascade it to all different regions that you are practicing? And I get an answer to say that this is not a legal requirement. Yes, it is not a legal requirement, but it will become a legal requirement. Now that you have a chance, before it becomes a legal requirement, why don't you do it and take your leadership position? This is what you should do as a multinational. So yes, I do have this kind of conversation with multinationals, and I don't look at them with a kind eye like I look with the local companies that have started and have established and have reached to. Okay. And this is a responsibility. They are not doing anything extra. When a multinational delivers on what it has in different regions of the world, it is their responsibility. It is their responsibility because of the position that they had, because of the reach that they have, because of the financial foundation that they have. Then when they open new markets, they have to ensure that they are justified in what they are doing, and they have to be very conscientious to do exactly what they did in their headquarters in every part of the world, whether there is a law or there is no law, whether the society is aware or the society is ill-informed. Okay? It has nothing to do with them delivering on what should be done.
From a Berkeley perspective, Mr. Nadesh, now where do you find the biggest resistance when you introduce new campaigns? Is it clients, or is it internal teams, or is it actually just the supply chain that is, set in the old ways, and then you have to, work really hard to move things around?
See, that ideological difference part is over by now, because in 2023, UAE has declared the year of sustainability. By then, everybody understood what sustainability is all about. As Dr. Habiba said, MNCs, large organizations across the other part of the world, they have best practices which are in line with the legal requirements. Again, I might be repeating the same points. When a company owner or when a company run by a family who wants to be equally responsible in every part of the world, they bring the same playbook. They bring the same strategy. Now, in facilities management, how we have to do, let's say in some other part of the world, there is a requirement of CSRD. In UAE, we might not have CSRD, but we have best local references. So what we adopt, we learn from other part of the world, and we don't call it as best practice. We embed that into the strategy of the business. So when you embed that into the strategy of your business, you train your people accordingly. And that ideological difference is over now, Marisha. And clients understand. In fact, some of the biggest corporates, they push us to do more because it is a real money. When you save their energy intensity, when you reduce their water consumption, when you manage their waste in a right way, that's positive add-on to the bottom line. Now people realized it enough. And I must say, this is a good thing for us. In Berkeley, what we did, we integrated a smart hub where we monitor each pillar of our intensity wisely with AI and tools integration. So with one smart hub, we can monitor our corporate clients, how energy intense they are, how water intense our operations are. And when you quantify that into money, it's a bottom line positive impact. So that part is already over where you go back and explain people. When you convert that into a tangible output, people will definitely listen to you. In fact, a lot of organizations are pushing companies like Berkeley and other peers in the market for a program called EcoVadis rating. That is one of a very credible rating where organizations are defined and determine their goals and evaluated according to 4 themes: environment, social governance, labor, ethics. Again, linking it back to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that is what an embedded organization actively practices these principles, procedures. And when we go back to client, linking all these standards, linking it to their bottom line, there is no pushback. In fact, they're happy to invest a little bit capital into it because you have a long-term positive impact and not just achieving your sustainable development goals, you're fulfilling the net zero journey of your own company. Also, your decarbonization journey is very positive. It helps for the bottom line as well.
Absolutely. My last question to both of you is that UAE has a stated goal of net zero by 2050. What do we need to do in the built industry today? Because, these assets will be generating carbon over the next 25 odd years. So to ensure that we are net zero by 2050. Dr. Habiba?
So, this is one of the most beautiful decisions that our country has taken. And that came straight away from the president of the UAE. So it's already been set for us. Now, how do you translate that into reality or into everyday operations? It will ensure it really requires every single person in any position, in whichever industry, in whichever space or status in life, has to play a role in there. So we are coming to the built environment. We need to stop working in silos. And that's one of the challenges that we have. We really need everybody on board. When a building is designed, it is not only the architect that is required to be sitting. You need the developer, you need the investor, you need the technical guys, you need the build contractors, you need the MEP, you need every single person who will be involved not only in the build of that building, in the operation of that building. Because a lot of the times they build, when it comes to really operate it, they are faced with huge challenges that never foresaw them. So you need them all to be together so that the language spoken is the same language. And the savings takes place when all these are on the same page. As we say, we put the pieces of puzzles together. So you see it before it is being built, and you know exactly what will go. And today you have modern technology really that helps with all the process. And mashallah, in the UAE, we do have companies that are doing it. So if there are companies that are able to do it, what stops the others from following it? We need to stop the shortcuts and to say the quick bucks I want to, and to think only I am building this building because I want to make money out of it. Yes, you will make money, but you have to make money in the right way. I remember, as a child, you will see a building, and then after 20 years, that building will be demolished. That culture has changed, alhamdulillah. Okay? So today, when we are building with a long term in mind. And that is what we should be building. We are building for 150 years. We are building for more. You have buildings that are 500, 1,000 years old. Why shouldn't we build in a way that is longevity for that place? So you are not only building a house or a building. You are building communities. You are building cities. Everything goes into there. Where we are talking about the mobility. You are talking about the services that you want to provide. You are creating communities. The community has to have a say in what is being built, how it is being built, where it is being built. These are all things. We come, of course, our role as an NGO in all aspects of it. Then we push on the issues of ensuring a healthy city, a healthy, livable, thriving city that brings the community together, that you are not living, just living in silos. You are living really together as one society that everybody knows the other.
Mr. Nadesh, Berkeley and FM companies are stewards of assets. So how are you looking at 2050 and the net zero goal that you will be responsible for in the next 25 years?
In Berkeley 3 years ago, we started with ISO 50001 energy management system that completely transformed our internal operations, the way we look into our energy intense operations, because that particular standard helped us in identifying and training our own people. Now we have energy certified auditors, energy certified technicians. These people, when we deploy them to our projects, they understand what kind of assets we have at the client portfolio. So they walk through a digital checklist to identify the energy intensity. That gives a lot of first-hand information. So we go back to our customers, look, your occupancy is high in this particular zone, or your occupancy is not efficient in other zone. We guide our customers. So when we guide our customers in the right way, it helps us in taking the right decisions. So we translate that into a decarbonization roadmap for the next 10 years at least. So as a facilities management company, you're giving your decarbonization roadmap based on the energy audits that we conduct, based on the information that we gathered with our technicians, and client will understand how this is impacting the environment and how this will help them to achieve their own sustainable development goals and net zero journey goals. By doing that, we are not just training our people, we are educating our customers, and we are achieving the goals of the country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that insight into how you're approaching the next 25 years and your assets and the performance. Dr. Habiba, it has been an excellent conversation. And thank you so much, Mr. Nadesh, for bringing her to our small podcast over here. So I hope our lead readers who are, technicians, leaders, C-suite executives in the built environment, listen to this conversation, see how partnerships should actually happen between an NGO and a corporate when it comes to sustainability. And happy World Environment Day. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you very much, and happy World Environment to all our listeners.
Thank you so much.